Okay, here we are. It is Saturday morning at the Barb and Gabby Campout. We're on the Hoh River, and oh my goodness, we've had some just amazing experiences. And well, we're going to let our campers tell you all about it. Who'd like to go first?
What happened yesterday afternoon? Wasn't there something going on yesterday afternoon? Back over here? No?
It's a blur.
It's all a blur.
I
I know, I say there's all this stuff happening and then it's silence.
I had something that took me a while to get my head around. We were driving to Forks in the afternoon, so we're probably leaving here about 1:30. And driving, we were out on the Oil City Road, driving up, and on the left-hand side, it was pretty open. Looked a lot like there's some stumps, lots of light. And I'm driving and looking where I'm going. I'm not really thinking much of anything. And I saw the strangest thing in a leap, really fast, across my field of vision to my left, on the left-hand side of the road. And I stopped the car and I said, I just saw something, but I have no idea what it was, because it was a really thin creature, all arms and legs, and it was kind of leaping. And the angle of the legs, the joints, everything looked odd, and I had no idea what I saw until I asked you if you ever seen anything like it. And I says, you know, I didn't think Sasquatches were so skinny, but it could have been a juvenile.
Yeah.
And it was moved incredibly quickly. I didn't get a whole lot of time to look at it because it literally just leapt through the air. All arms and legs just, and it's just really strange looking.
Okay, and what color?
It was a dark brown or black. It really wasn't too far away, but it was just such a quick view of it while I was driving, and I didn't see it again. And I did stop and I looked for a while to see if I could pop up. My sister didn't see it. She was in the car with me.
She was moving too. She was probably doing 25, 30 miles an hour. And we always call that the ramming speed on logging roads, because it usually doesn't give wildlife a lot of time to get out of the way. So you'll get like, just a fleeting glance of something. So we like to drive like that speed.
Okay, all right,
Or
cool.
stop, yeah.
That's on 101 between here and Forks?
No, it was on Oil City.
no.
We hadn't turned off on 101 yet.
Okay.
It's actually right before the road to Oil City. It's the campground road right before
right
the
before.
T.
The T.
She was kind of a little befuddled after seeing that.
Really?
And I was making sure I knew exactly where it was, so I looked.
Okay, all right, very cool. Okay, who's next? Tristan?
Okay, so across from our campsite, we gifted over there on the stump and first night, and we didn't get anything. And last night, yesterday Mitch showed us a stump that he started gifting on that was further up from our original gifting site. And then after he left, we decided, well, we'll put a recorder up there to see if we can catch anything. So Pat, Penny, and I, this is around like 7 or 8.
Before it got dark.
Before it was just getting dark. And so we walked up to the stump, pretty much where Mitch had his stuff. And I put a silver recorder out. And before I put it up on this tree with the bungee cord, we heard this big snap, or I thought it was
Snap crash.
snap crash, yeah, like against a tree or something.
Okay.
And I didn't get it recorded because this was before I put the recorder on. But Pat and Penny were doing some fake. So maybe it was responding to that.
Okay.
So that was,
all right.
I mean, in terms of audible, that was pretty cool. Just to
Okay, now
hear.
wasn't it just like an hour or so before that we were all kind of standing right by the road at your camping area, and we heard several stick breaks right across the road?
Yeah, I'd say about an hour or so
Yeah.
before. It was still, I mean, by that time it was pretty light, but you're right. There
Yeah.
was, even Buckley here was looking across the road when we heard, some snaps and stuff across the road.
Okay, so, after those snaps, I walked back down here, and we got about halfway down the road, and Gabby actually went on point in the woods, and that's something I've never seen her do before. I mean, one paw up, she was pointing. And I don't know, she didn't seem to be upset, but she was concerned and definitely zoomed in on something that I couldn't see there. So.
In what direction?
On this side of the road.
Over there.
Yeah, right back there. Back
Same
in-
side as
Same
our
side. Yeah,
brake
where all that
crash.
stuff
That was what
happened.
time of day again, roughly?
That would have been.
Between 6:30 and 7 because we went at 7:30.
Well, no, it was when I was walking back, so it would have been just before dinner.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so who'd like to go next?
I guess I'll go. It's just a little difficult for me because I honestly didn't think I would be so scared because I'm in with a group of Sasquatchers and everybody's never had any kind of violent encounters or anything, but I immediately got really terrified. But it was 2 minutes to 10 and she'd already laid down and was about half asleep. Was going up the stairs because I'm sleeping above the driving area in a Class C motorhome. So I'd climb in and I'd pushed a bunch of stuff to the back so I could make myself more comfortable, put the blanket over me, took a big breath and just lay there for a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And I felt something like trying to crawl in my sleeping bag, and I felt like it was furry like her. So I said, Terry, is Lou trying to get up here? Because I thought she might be trying to jump up on the bed or something. No, Lou's still. I said, is she scratching or something? No, she's laying against my tummy. She's dead still. I still felt it moving down on my lower, below, around my knees, and just kind of just lightly touched me, but it felt furry like her. Kept thinking it's the dog, so I finally go down, I start reaching around, I don't feel anything. And then immediately I start feeling a vibration in the motorhome, and it almost felt like a giant cell phone's pressed against the motorhome, and it's kind of vibrating. And that actually freaked me out more than the feeling, the sensation in the legs. And I finally, it wouldn't stop. She's telling me, calm down, calm down, calm down. I'm telling her, are we having an earthquake? No. Terry, the motorhome's moving. I can't feel it. Tina, it's okay, it's okay. I still feel it. So finally, I just had it. I was freaking. So I opened the vent right above my head and I just said, hey, you guys, you're scaring me. Stop, like a switch. And then at around 4, 8 or 9 minutes to 4, something came right through the camp, intentional walking, dong, 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 dong. And then scratch, like you know how you go by a car, you would just take your fingernails and kind of lightly scratch the side of the motorhome right by my head.
Down the length of the motorhome?
Yeah. And I just got the impression they were mad that we weren't playing our instruments or something. I just got an impression they wanted me to do something.
Well, we had the night before we had an amazing evening with our instruments out here. We had Mitch playing the guitar and we were making up songs, and it was really fantastic. So maybe they liked that very much, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, that incident sounds similar when I was on the first night when I was here, and I just felt like I didn't hear the door open, but I felt somebody walking in my bus, coming up, and just as they were about to touch me. Actually, one time I can actually feel a hand kind of touch me, and I turned around and there was nobody there, and it happened to me twice. So that's real similar. And I felt freaked out too. I was really freaked out.
When was that, Rob?
That was Wednesday night.
Well, okay. And Nancy, you had something too.
Yeah. Now this happened about 11:15 because I looked at my phone to get the time. A couple minutes later, I thought I better mark the time for this. At first it woke me up. I had fallen asleep. I'd gone to bed about 10:30, and it woke me up, and I could hear the vocals, but I thought I was hearing fishermen yelling. I could hear yelling and stuff off in that direction, but I was half asleep by then. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. And around 11:15, it woke me up because my RV was just vibrating, just very steady, not like anybody was pushing and rocking it, but like it was vibrating. And I thought, and then I start really getting more conscious, I thought we were having an earthquake. And it was just very even, steady tremor. It wasn't anything. It was almost like it was made by a machine or something. And I was laying there and trying to think, what the heck is going on, you know? And but it didn't particularly frighten me. I was just more curious about it. But I also had some sensations of something not really moving, but I thought, well, something just kind of like fell on my knee or side of my leg. But nothing had moved, and I thought, well, that's odd. And I had 2 or 3 of those. I didn't feel like anybody was grabbing me or rubbing me. but I did feel just like, where did that come from? And it was during this whole thing going on. So I don't know. I had been having trouble with my hip and my back. I've got a bad disc in my back. And I had asked that if there was something they could do for it, I would appreciate it. Now, maybe that, because I've been pretty comfortable this morning. And so just listening to everybody, I think, well, maybe that was connected. But I didn't have any fear about it. And I had asked them specifically when she had a rock thrown at her RV yesterday, after turning on the generator, I said, please don't throw rocks because I have to start my generator to get my phone up. Please don't throw rocks at my little RV. I really like her, And so I didn't have anything. I could feel things dropping during the night. I kept thinking, well, maybe it's starting to rain, or things are falling out of the tree, and that's kind of really what I attributed. Maybe I was just pine cones falling. I could hear little movements outside, but I have my gifting area right behind my RV, and I know mice got into it, so it might have been another small animal. But I never heard any loud footsteps because the fishermen were going by several times late at night and also early in the morning. So I don't know, but I very definitely thought we were having an earthquake or something. And I felt myself, am I having some kind of an attack or something? Wasn't me. And but that vibration was very obvious.
So that would have been within minutes of what you experienced.
It was
Same deal. It felt like
11:15.
mechanical.
Yeah.
Just like a quick, like a cell phone vibration, a giant cell phone stuck against the side of the motorhome.
Yeah.
But no noise.
No noise. Yeah.
Well, during that time, there was a few of us that were sitting here in camp, and I can assure you there was no earthquake, and camp didn't vibrate. It was isolated to your motorhomes.
Yep, there's no
So-
earthquake on King 5. No.
That
They
was
can't
about-
vibrate a bus, huh? Well, wait a minute, they got on the bus, didn't they?
Unless the Navy's doing some kind of testing out here or something,
Wouldn't other people have felt it though? I mean, it was totally obvious.
Yeah, I would think so.
It was rattling my cage,
Yeah.
literally.
No, I didn't feel the vibration, but I really strongly felt that there was something right there next to the motorhome. But my reaction was, it's going to be okay. They're not going to hurt us. It's
Maybe
going to
they're
be
just
okay.
scanning certain people, Maybe they're scanning, trying to figure out who we are, and, they were checking you out, because we're in these big tin vehicles, and they're saying, hey, well, let's see what, these guys are intense, easy to read. Big vehicles might vibrate if they're just singling out a certain person.
I was 100% convinced it was standing right next to the driver's side, next to the window, because the slider and the angle of how my motorhomes, it was very good protection. And if we'd looked out the window where we thought it was set, you wouldn't be able to see it. So it was strategic, a very strategic.
I did look out the window, and I did not see anything, because I did look out the window when you were talking to me about.
Can I just ask, how long did your episode last?
Not very long, probably 2 or 3 minutes.
And it was about what time?
It started about 2 minutes to 10. But another weird sensation that I forgot to, when it started, I felt like it was coming up from underneath, where between the Ford chassis and the actual motorhome coach, there's a little bit of a space. It's where you sleep up above, over the, I felt like it was coming up from underneath. Like, it was weird. It was a very weird sensation.
So it was focused on you.
Yeah.
the motorhome.
But I just kept thinking I thought it was my own brain saying, you didn't play the flute tonight. You didn't even practice today. And I'm like, I don't want to practice today. I'm tired.
Really? You didn't play the flute at all?
No.
I could have swore I heard you over there playing the flute last night.
Nope.
Not.
I'll be darned. Okay. That's interesting.
So that was about the same time when I went to bed early last night because I was really tired. And it was about that same time where I got up and I can hear movement around me outside the tent. So I just started talking. I said, okay, I'm coming out to play now. Get my shoes on and stuff. Okay, I'm backing out. You can see my butt first. I'm backing out of the tent. And I was backing out of the tent, well, right before that, when I woke up, I heard frogs. And it was like the first time since we've been here that I heard frogs. I thought, okay, well, there's a swamp over there. That makes sense. There's frogs here. So I didn't think anything of it. And then she's going to tell you more about the frogs. So I'm coming, as I'm backing out of the tent, I could hear footfall moving away from me, like running past the Jeep. And I didn't see, and I shone my light into the bushes, into the vines. I didn't see anything then. But there was definitely movement around me and moving away from me as I was coming out of the tent. I also had vibration, but it was later because that was after I went back to bed, and I felt and I'm in a tent that's pretty low to the ground, just have a short foam mattress underneath me, and I was vibrating, and I had pulled my hamstring a couple months ago and it's been aching. After the vibration stopped, my leg pain went away. So it was fine for about 3 or 4 hours until earlier this morning. It came back up again. But I also had that vibration feeling, just like on the ground, like the ground was shaking.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very
I've been sitting
interesting.
here all morning and I haven't had a bit of pain in my hip or my leg. And I've been in a lot of pain the last couple of days. It's this chair for some reason aggravates it. And I've been fine this morning.
Well,
Did
you
you
were
feel
actually
any
saying last
sensation?
night how the chair was difficult, and you were thinking you needed to get a new one because it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Did you feel any sensation in your hip or leg last night?
It was right in here where I was feeling the touching. But I was just feeling something, and I kept thinking, well, because I have books and pillows I sleep on the sofa in there. And so I had stuff stacked on the top of it, and I thought, well, did a book or something, because I was like feeling for my book or something, and nothing was there. And I thought, well, that's odd. What am I feeling?
So the other thing, she said that she felt like there was something that was crawling with you. When I was laying there, this was after our event, later in the middle of the night. It felt like there was someone laying alongside of me. It was like really warm, like there was a body right alongside of me, and it felt like there was like a touch coming up my leg, and it was like coming up like towards my hip. But it was really, really slow, like it was slowly moving up here. And then I just reached down, and there was nothing there, and I just waved my finger like, no, you stay down there. But I've had that sensation before, so it doesn't really startle me because I've had it actually quite a bit in the last 4 years. But it was actually very comforting because it felt like I had a nice warm body right next to me, and that side of me was really warm. It's like, okay, you need someone on the other side to keep that side warm too. But that was sort of like in the middle of the night. And the only other thing I had in the middle of the night, towards about 4 o'clock in the morning, or actually it was at 3, I woke up, I didn't sleep very well until about 4 o'clock. About 3:15, there was a sound. It sounded like the walkie-talkie going out, and it was like right outside my tent, and I could hear footfall and this sound. And so I got up and thought, that's kind of weird. Someone's up at this early in the morning. And so I asked Barb when I woke up. I said, "Do you have the walkie-talkie on?" Nope. So I think they learned a new sound to mimic.
Yeah. Okay. So, last night, a large part of the group went over for a night sit on a kind of an adjacent road back in that direction, and you stayed, and you went in, and we're going to go to sleep early.
Right.
So that just left Pat and I sitting here together, and we're having a nice conversation, and we started hearing movement back here in the ferns, and then the frogs started, and it was odd because the first frog was over here. And then all of a sudden, there's a frog over here. And then the frog was going from this direction to over here very quickly. It was croak, 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 croak. And, well, frogs don't generally move that fast unless they had like a whole bunch of frogs in line and it just set off like a domino effect or something. I don't know. But it was just after those frogs was when you got up.
Yeah, I think I heard the last of the frogs. It sounded like it was in the woods over, like behind your tent, in that area.
And those are the only frogs we've really heard since we've been here, and that was it. It just did it for a few minutes, and that was it. They've stopped. We haven't heard them since. So then you came back over here and joined us, and we continued our very in-depth conversation. And at one point, the night before, we had been seeing the sparkly lights, flashing lights all through back here, but there was none of that last night until I was sitting about where you are, and David was sitting about where Tristan is, and I was looking past him, and I did see right over here in the ferns, right over his shoulder, there was one of the red flashes of light right in there. And it wasn't much longer after that, the rest of the group returned, and we had left radios. I had a radio, you had taken a radio, and you had Peter, you had radio at your camp. Well, I had tried to communicate on my radio. I sent out a message, but no, there was no response, and the screen didn't light up. It made the sound as though it was transmitting, but my screens didn't light up, so I thought, well, maybe my batteries are low. And then I found out that you guys had also been trying to contact us, so there was you didn't connect
Channel
with those
8,
guys.
right?
Yeah, we were all in the
Channel
same, we checked that before everybody left. We were all in the same channel, so our radios were not functioning. So you guys got back here, and you're saying, okay, there's nothing going on over there. Everything's quiet, and
Other than lights, we'd seen flashes of lights.
oh,
And
okay.
they were red, white, and you
I
saw
saw a
bluish.
white one.
Yeah.
So then that was like the lights we were watching the night before here.
Yeah, they were not. I don't think they were like a little twinkle light. The ones I saw they were actually like a light, and it would just be just for a second, you know. But I think we all saw the lights, right? You saw. we
Yeah,
all
that's
saw
what
them.
we were calling flickers because they
Flickers.
weren't sustained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was
They were
just
just
brief.
like you see it and then it's gone.
Exactly.
you
It was
know,
there
but
just
you
long
could
enough for you to go, well,
definitely
that
see
was a
it.
light.
Yeah, there's a light
Yeah.
at 10 o'clock. There's one at 1:30 or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, and it went on for quite some time, and then it just stopped.
Okay.
And I think we only saw a few more, but it was pretty quiet out there. And then we came back.
Okay. So when everybody got back here, we kind of touched base, and everybody was really tired. And okay, well, let's go ahead and get the chairs packed up underneath the canopies over here, you know, so they don't get dewed on. And I think we had just stood up to start collecting the chairs when we started hearing something from back in this direction. And also, before you guys came back, I think that was while you were here, we heard, you remember when we were up on the 74 road in June a couple of years ago, we heard the scream followed by the owl call. We had one of those
Awesome.
from back in this direction. It wasn't close, but it was definitely the same thing. And then after you guys got here, we start collecting the chairs. We hear something from back in this direction. Everybody stops to listen. And it was kind of hard to describe, hard to pick up what it was at first because it was a little distant and it wasn't real clear. But it was coming closer, and the closer it got, the clearer and the louder it got. And it became very obvious that there were screams coming in this direction, very screams.
But it was two-phase. It was like,
Yeah.
like that 15, 20 times. But
Yeah.
we couldn't make it out at the first, that tone and that
Yeah.
two-phase thing. And it was repetitive, and it sounded more pissed and more pissed as it got
it was
closer.
like 15 to 20 seconds apart,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
you think? Each
Maybe
call?
Not even that
much.
Yeah.
And we could also hear like a distant dog that appeared to be upset by it, that was
There
hearing
was a
it.
dog that barked at the same time one of the calls were,
Okay.
but the rest was clear howls.
That was freaky.
Scream
It was.
howls.
It was
made
scream
us
howls,
all
yeah.
hold still.
Did it sound like more than one individual?
No, it was the same
Just
one,
one over and over.
and over.
And at one point, I believe it was Kevin and Tristan actually went over here and stood on the picnic table to try and hear this better. And Tristan, you had your recorder that you put out.
Yeah. How do you want me to do this?
Just go ahead and turn it onto that spot, and let's hear what you recorded.
You want me to get closer to your phone?
Sure, let's come on over here, and we'll hold that right up to the phone.
Before I start, I grabbed this was in a bag, and so I took it out of a bag, and then and towards the end I kind of walked towards the bench, but you can hear it. There's at least 6 times where you can hear it pretty clearly on this.
Say what time it is too when you start to record it.
No, this is so quick. This is after 11 though. I would say maybe close to midnight. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
What do they call that? The Snohomish. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It was like it's just like the Snohomish call.
It
was
was
like back
very
in the
much.
80s.
But
And-
if you have headphones, which I did back at camp, you can hear more in the beginning if you have headphones on.
Okay, well, if you can send me a copy,
Okay.
and maybe I can put a copy of that, attach it to the video that our folks at home can listen to with headphones.
Okay. Yeah, and I can
Alright.
also try to amplify that on my computer.
Okay. Okay, so has anybody else got anything they'd like to add?
Just real quick, on our spook walk, 2 things happened. One was while we were watching the glow stick. I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch, but there was something to the right of me in the bushes that scurried off, and it made me jump in, and kind of scared me. Like it was just totally out of nowhere.
Okay.
It didn't sound really big, but I mean it was just weird that it was like right next to me basically.
When it happened.
All you heard was it, because I was sitting right beside you. All you heard was it leaving.
Yeah.
You didn't hear it coming in. And a couple of those lights that we saw were like from me to you, 15 feet from my
Wow, really
knee,
close.
and at knee level.
Wow.
And that
okay.
happened not long after we saw the 2 lights.
Okay.
4 o'clock this morning, I typically wake up around what I call the witching hour. It's when they do knocks to call their people in, or whoops to get the kids in from out night ranging or something. So I woke up, and maybe something woke me up, I don't know. But right at 4 o'clock, there was a male voice that went, "Bwah!" just like that. And then within a few minutes, there was a lesser male voice that didn't sound like that at all. It was muffled. So that was interesting. And then there were coyotes that were just across from our camp doing the yay.
Okay.
Multiple.
I slept through all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, I guess that wraps up our Saturday morning meeting. It's been pretty awesome. We got one more day, one more night. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yay!
Just to have an experience.
I might pull over here. I'm serious. I think I'm gonna go pull next to you, Kev.